What if the reason people can't stop looking at you lately has nothing to do with your looks and everything to do with your energy? Something in you has changed. And even if you haven't fully put it into words, others can feel it. You've started showing up differently. You're not louder. You're not dressed in flashy clothes. But somehow, you've become impossible to ignore. Women especially are noticing not just your appearance, but the calm, grounded presence you carry. You don't even need to say much. Your presence does the talking. It walks ahead of you. It lingers after you've left. And it's not an accident. This didn't happen overnight. It's been building inside you for a while now, quietly and patiently. At some point, you stopped trying to fit in and started allowing yourself to stand in your truth. That truth is now showing up in your posture, in your clothes, in your tone, in your walk. You're not just wearing a new style. You're carrying a new energy. Your wardrobe hasn't changed because you followed a trend. It changed because you stopped hiding. You stopped dressing to be accepted and started dressing to reflect who you really are. The result is a new kind of magnetism. People don't just see your outfit. They feel your alignment. They sense that what's outside now matches what's inside. And that match creates something powerful. It creates clarity. It creates confidence. It creates presence. Women aren't just glancing at you because you look good. They're trying to figure out why your presence makes them feel something they didn't expect. Your look doesn't scream for attention, but it holds it. It doesn't chase compliments. It commands respect. This isn't about grooming or brands or what's trending right now. It's about energy. It's about a shift in how you see yourself, how you carry yourself, and how you show up. You're not performing anymore. You're not adjusting who you are to please anyone. You've made peace with yourself, and it shows. The way you stand, the way you dress, the way you speak, it's all coming from the same place now. Self-awareness. You're not trying to be the man people expect. You're becoming the man you've always been meant to be. That's what they're drawn to. That's what feels different now. You don't have to try. You just are. And that's powerful. Women naturally notice a man who doesn't just have strength, but who carries that strength quietly, calmly, and with self-control. There's something magnetic about a man who doesn't need to prove he's powerful. Yet somehow everyone feels it when he walks into a room. That's the energy you've started to walk in. The way you dress, the way you move, the quiet fire in your eyes, the stillness in your presence. It's speaking louder than words. People feel it. Women feel it. And now they're responding to it in ways you didn't expect. But this moment in your life isn't just about being noticed. It's not about compliments or attraction. It's about what you do with it. Because attention is never just about admiration. It's always a test. You're now in a season where your energy is affecting people more deeply. Some women will open up to you too quickly, revealing parts of themselves they usually guard. Others will offer affection, trust, or curiosity faster than they normally would. That's not because you've asked for it. It's because your presence has made them feel something safe, something solid, something gentle. But this isn't something to take lightly. This isn't something to feed your ego. It's a responsibility. Because when people feel safe with you, they are trusting you with parts of themselves they don't even understand. And you have to be the kind of man who doesn't take advantage of that. You have to be the kind of man who protects what others don't know how to protect in themselves. This isn't about playing it cool or being mysterious for attention. This is about being aware of the weight your energy carries now. You don't just walk into a room anymore. You change the atmosphere when you enter. You don't just speak. You influence how others feel with the tone of your voice. And when you're silent, even your stillness has impact. That's the difference. That's what makes people remember you. Not because you did something flashy or loud, but because your energy left something behind. You gave people peace. You gave them space. You made them feel seen without making them feel exposed. And they won't forget that. This shift you're experiencing didn't come overnight. It didn't come from a haircut or new clothes. It came from the discipline, the focus, the patience, and the quiet work you've done on yourself. You started showing up differently because you started treating yourself differently. You started taking care of the small things, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. The way your shirt fits, the way your shoes are cleaned, the way your grooming is sharp, the way you move with intention. It all says something without you having to say anything at all. And women notice this, not because they're looking for perfection, but because they're drawn to effort. And your effort is different. Your effort is consistent. It's real. It doesn't ask for attention. It earns respect. You're not dressing to impress anymore. You're dressing in alignment with who you've become. You're not choosing outfits to stand out. You're choosing clothes that feel like you, that move with your energy, that express your discipline, not your desire to be praised. And that's why people are noticing. Because your style doesn't scream, it speaks. It says, this man knows himself, and that self-knowing, that quiet confidence, is more attractive than anything else. But with all of this new attention, you'll be tested. You'll be tempted to ease up, to drop your standards, to let the praise make you soft. You'll be tempted to enjoy the energy coming towards you without thinking about the responsibility of carrying it. But this moment requires more from you, not less. It's easy to look good for a night. It's harder to live with excellence day after day. But you've already made that choice. You've already started building a life that reflects clarity, not confusion. You've already committed to being a man who doesn't just show up strong when people are watching, but especially when no one is. This month, your presence is turning into influence. Women are thinking about you without even knowing why. They remember how they felt when you passed by. They remember your stillness. They remember your restraint. They remember that you didn't push, didn't take, didn't pressure. You just were. You just stood there fully in yourself. And that gave them space to feel safe in theirs. This isn't about looks anymore. It's about energy. You are no longer causing short-lived attraction. You're leaving lasting impressions. Your presence is making people raise their standards, not because you asked them to, but because something about you reminded them of what's possible. Something about your energy made them want more for themselves. And that's impact. You're being remembered because you didn't try to be remembered. You're being talked about because your presence spoke when your mouth didn't. People are asking, who was he? Not because you showed off, but because you stayed grounded. That's what stays with them. Not the image, but the feeling. And now your style is no longer decoration. It's your energy made visible. Your posture, your walk, your grooming, your voice. It's all become one message. And the message is clear. You are a man who knows his value, and you don't need to perform it. This kind of presence doesn't chase. It waits. It listens. It holds space. It doesn't try to seduce. It brings peace. And people don't always understand it, but they feel it. They feel like they can relax around you. They feel like they can open up, not because you lowered their defenses, but because you didn't activate their fear. And in a world where so many are performing, manipulating, or pretending, that difference is unforgettable. What you are now carrying is not personal. It's not about you being light. It's about the kind of energy you bring into other people's lives. You're not just being seen. You're being felt. You're being experienced. And that experience is changing how people view men, how they view themselves, how they view what's possible in a connection. You are showing them what real presence looks like when it's paired with integrity, discipline, and humility. And all of this has come from within, from the moments you chose to grow instead of complain, from the mornings you showed up even when you didn't feel like it, from the quiet decisions no one clapped for. That's the root of what you're becoming. That's the foundation. You didn't become this man overnight. You built him in silence. And now that he's visible to the world, your only job is to keep showing up with the same quiet discipline that got you here. People may not understand your story, but they will feel the weight of it. They will feel that you've walked through fire, that you've broken and rebuilt, that your calm came at a cost, that your strength was earned, and that your confidence was born through moments of doubt that you chose to walk through instead of run from. And that kind of man can't be faked. He can't be copied. He can't be replaced. You're not just dressing well. You're moving in alignment with who you truly are. Every detail, from the cut of your coat to the way you stand, is part of your message now. You are showing what it looks like when a man agrees with his own identity, when a man honors himself in every room, when he gives more than he takes, listens more than he speaks, holds more than he pushes. That's what makes you different now. That's what makes you unforgettable. Your legacy will not be in how many eyes looked at you. It will be in how many hearts felt seen by you. It won't be in how loudly you entered the room, but in how softly you changed the air. It won't be in how good you looked, but in how present you were. That's what people will talk about. That's what they'll remember. That's what will stay with them long after your name fades from memory. Because you didn't leave behind just an image. You left behind a feeling, a shift, a moment of peace, a sense of safety, a reminder that there are still men in this world who carry power without arrogance, beauty without performance, and presence without pressure. That is who you've become. And that is why you no longer need to be loud to be heard. You don't need to be seen to be felt. You don't need to be followed to lead. You're no longer dressing for success. You're dressing for significance. And you're not chasing impact. You're living it. In every step. In every choice. In every quiet, consistent moment of integrity. That's the real glow they see. That's the real magnetism they feel. And that's what makes you a man worth remembering.
Have you ever loved someone so deeply, but still felt like something just wasn't right? You tried your best. You gave your heart. You believed in the connection. But even with all that love, something inside you felt unsettled. You couldn't always explain it. Sometimes it was just a quiet ache, a heaviness you couldn't shake. Other times, it showed up as confusion, constant overthinking, or a deep tiredness that made you feel like your heart was carrying too much. You kept hoping things would get better, that maybe you were just going through a rough patch, that maybe this is what love is supposed to feel like sometimes. But deep down, you knew something about this relationship didn't feel peaceful. At first, it felt beautiful. There was comfort, chemistry, and the hope of something lasting. But as time passed, the comfort turned into emotional weight. The connection started to feel more like pressure. You still cared, but you were constantly working to hold things together, and it never felt like enough. You kept wondering why love felt more like survival. You started doubting yourself, replaying conversations, questioning your own instincts. You'd lie in bed at night trying to convince yourself this was normal, that love was just hard work. But what if love isn't supposed to feel like this? What if real love isn't meant to confuse, exhaust, or make you feel like you're slowly losing yourself? The truth is, love isn't supposed to feel like a battle inside your own heart. When you're with the right person, even during hard times, there's an underlying peace. You may face challenges together, but there's clarity in the connection. You feel like you're growing, like you're becoming more of yourself, not less. You feel safe to express who you are. You feel understood. But when the relationship is not right, your inner peace disappears. You constantly overthink. You feel like you're walking on emotional eggshells. And even if nothing major goes wrong, you just don't feel okay. Maybe you've been stuck in a pattern of breaking up and getting back together. It's a cycle that begins with relief when you leave, followed by hope when you return. At first, it feels like love trying to survive. But over time, It just starts to feel like repetition, familiar pain dressed in new promises. Each time you go back, a little more of your spirit fades. You tell yourself maybe this time things will be different, but they never are. The arguments return. The same feelings come back, and the longer it goes on, the more it becomes clear this isn't love rebuilding itself. This is love on life support. And perhaps the saddest part is when you begin to lose yourself in the process. You become quieter, smaller. You stop speaking your truth because you fear it will cause conflict. You stop dreaming out loud because you feel misunderstood. You stop showing the brightest parts of yourself because they don't seem to be appreciated. Little by little, you start hiding who you really are just to keep the relationship from falling apart. But the truth is, the relationship is already falling apart if it can't hold space for the real you. You deserve to be in a connection that allows you to be fully seen. You deserve to feel proud of who you are, not pressured to become someone else just to be loved. Real love doesn't want you to shrink. It wants you to shine. It celebrates your voice. It embraces your dreams. It doesn't ask you to choose between your peace and your partner. It creates a space where both can exist. Maybe you've noticed you've been feeling disconnected from yourself lately. Things that used to bring you joy now feel distant. Passions that used to light you up feel dim. You've stopped doing the things that used to make you feel alive. That's not because you've changed for the better. It's because the connection you're in is pulling you away from the parts of you that matter most. And it's not selfish to realize that. It's wise. Because who you become in a relationship is just as important as how much you love someone. Letting go is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, especially when your heart still cares. But sometimes, walking away isn't giving up. It's choosing to listen to your truth. It's realizing that love should build you, not break you. That you shouldn't have to beg for consistency, for effort, or for emotional safety. That real love should bring you peace, not make you doubt yourself every single day. So if your heart feels tired, your mind feels heavy, and your spirit feels like it's slowly slipping away, ask yourself the real question. Are you holding on because it's right? Or because you're scared to let go? Sometimes the hardest decision is the most loving one. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from what's hurting you, even if you still love them. You don't need a love that constantly drains you. You don't need a connection that keeps you confused. You don't need someone who only loves parts of you. You deserve the kind of love that brings peace, clarity, joy, and freedom. The kind of love that makes you feel more like yourself, not someone you have to become just to keep things from falling apart. If it's not giving you that, then maybe it's time to stop holding on so tightly. Maybe it's time to listen to what your heart's been whispering. Maybe it's time to love yourself enough to walk away, because you deserve a love that feels like a soft place to land. You deserve a love that sees you, hears you, supports you, and helps you grow, not one that asks you to carry all the weight alone. You are not too much. You are not too emotional. You are not asking for too much. You're just asking for something real, something whole, something that doesn't hurt to hold, and you deserve nothing less. You keep noticing the same red flags over and over again, things that make you feel uncomfortable, anxious, or deeply uneasy. You see how they lie, how they twist the truth just enough to make you question your own memory. You feel the way they manipulate conversations, avoid real effort, or only show up when it's convenient for them. You've seen the poor communication, the emotional distance, the constant one-sidedness. You felt the sting of being the only one trying while they remain passive or distracted. Deep down, you know something's off. You felt it in your body, in your heart, in your energy, and yet you keep making excuses for them. You tell yourself they're just going through a rough patch. You remind yourself of their painful past, of their childhood wounds, of their traumas. You convince yourself that nobody is perfect and that maybe they'll change. Maybe this is just temporary. You tell yourself that compassion means staying and being patient. But the truth is, there's a difference between compassion and self-deception. One uplifts, the other slowly destroys. You're not helping them heal by ignoring your own pain. You're only hurting yourself. When something is constantly making you feel uneasy, heavy, or emotionally unsafe, that's not something you're supposed to ignore. That's not your intuition being dramatic. That's your inner self begging you to pay attention. Red flags are not vague suggestions to maybe reconsider. They are loud, flashing warnings. Warnings that something is unhealthy, harmful, or unsustainable. And when you keep justifying those warnings, when you keep brushing them aside, you start training your mind to accept what you once knew was wrong. You begin to normalize dysfunction. You begin to accept crumbs as if they're enough to satisfy your soul. And without even realizing it, your standards start to drop. You stop asking for respect. You stop asking for effort. You stop asking for what you truly deserve. You begin to feel like you're too much for expecting even the basics. And that's how peace disappears. That's how emotional exhaustion creeps in. That's how you begin to lose sight of yourself. And all the while, you're still asking for clarity, still hoping for a sign, still wondering what you should do. You've asked the same questions over and over, cried over the same hurt, replayed the same situations in your mind hoping to see them differently. You keep searching for some kind of confirmation, some kind of external moment that will finally make things clear. But what if the clarity has already come? What if the sign you're looking for was in the sleepless nights, the tearful drives home, the pit in your stomach when they broke another promise, the way you slowly stop feeling like yourself around them? That heaviness, that sadness, that confusion, that's not random. That's your answer. That's your body and heart telling you that something isn't right. You're not stuck because you don't know what to do. You're stuck because doing what you need to do feels painful. You don't want the answer to be what it is, so you pretend it hasn't arrived yet. But the longer you pretend, the deeper the pain becomes. Waiting for another sign doesn't protect you. It delays your healing. It keeps you circling in a place that is clearly draining you. And while you've been focused on them, have you noticed what's happened to you? To your passion? To your goals? To your dreams? You used to be full of energy, full of purpose. You had ideas, plans, fire in your spirit. But now you feel like you've been walking in circles, like your motivation has slipped through your fingers. You barely recognize the version of you that once had so much drive, because all your energy has been going toward trying to make this relationship work. You've paused your progress. You've dimmed your light. You've sacrificed your focus just to keep someone who doesn't seem to be meeting you halfway. Love isn't supposed to pull you away from yourself. It's supposed to bring you closer to who you really are. It's not supposed to make you feel small, or lost, or confused about your direction. A true connection will inspire you, energize you, encourage your growth. It won't ask you to abandon yourself in exchange for temporary closeness. It won't require you to give up your dreams so you can feel a little bit loved. If your relationship is making you feel more stuck than supported, it's not love, it's a distraction. And sometimes the most dangerous distractions are the ones that wear the mask of affection. You've seen the cycle. They leave. They ghost you. They cheat. They lie. They break promises. And when you finally start to rebuild yourself, they come back. They say just enough of the right things to make you hesitate. Maybe they apologize. Maybe they pretend to change. Maybe they say they missed you. And you, because your heart is good and your hope is strong, you open the door again. You let them back in. You try again. But how many times has this happened? One time might be a mistake. Two might be confusion. But three or more? That's a pattern. That's a lesson that keeps repeating itself until you finally learn it. When someone shows you the same hurtful behavior over and over again, that's not bad luck. That's a message. Life keeps giving you the opportunity to walk away for good, but you keep choosing to stay, not because you're weak, but because you're scared. You don't want to start over. You don't want to lose what little closeness you have left. But the truth is, every time you let them back in, you push yourself further away from what you deserve. You stretch yourself thinner. You doubt yourself more. You delay the peace and love that could actually be waiting for you somewhere else. You can't hold on to what's hurting you and expect to feel whole. Letting go isn't failure. It's freedom. You weren't made just to survive emotionally. You weren't made to live your days walking on emotional eggshells, second-guessing yourself, settling for half-hearted affection. You were meant to feel safe, to feel calm, to feel valued not for how much you can tolerate, but for who you truly are. And no one who truly values you will make you feel like you have to earn their love through pain, silence, or constant emotional labor. If someone makes you feel like you're too needy just because you want honesty, communication, and consistency, that's not your person. You don't have to apologize for wanting stability. You don't have to keep proving your worth to someone who can't see it. Your softness isn't the problem. Your standards aren't too high. You've just been giving too much to someone who doesn't know how to handle what you bring. And yes, letting go will hurt. It will break your heart to walk away from something you wanted so badly to work. It will feel lonely at first. You'll second guess yourself. You'll miss the memories, the shared moments, the closeness. But pain fades, doubt fades, and in its place comes something powerful: peace, relief, clarity, self-respect, the freedom to breathe without waiting for the next disappointment, the space to grow, to heal, to rediscover yourself. And eventually, you'll look back and realize that what you feared losing was never as safe as you thought. You'll see that the ending was necessary for your beginning. This moment might not feel like a blessing. It might feel like a breaking. But it's the kind of breaking that clears the way for something real, something honest, something that doesn't make you question your worth. You don't have to stay where your heart is always aching. You don't have to stay where your light is always dimming. The right kind of love won't confuse you, exhaust you, or shrink you. It will meet you where you are and help you become more of who you're meant to be. So if everything feels like it's falling apart right now, maybe it's because something better is finally trying to come together.
Have you ever wondered why people, especially women, have started reacting to you differently, even though you haven't said a word? Why there is a shift in how they look at you, speak to you, or seem to notice your presence without understanding why? That feeling isn't random. It's not a coincidence. Something deep inside you has been quietly waking up, and now the world is starting to respond. It didn't happen all at once. It didn't explode into your life like some huge event. It came slowly, silently, like something ancient within you opening up after being asleep for too long. You're not becoming someone new. You're becoming more of who you've always been. The masks are falling away. The fear of being too much is fading. You're starting to accept what you used to hide, and that's changing everything. For a long time, your energy may have felt misunderstood, especially your sexual energy. Maybe people judged it. Maybe you judged it yourself. You might have tried to push it down, cover it up, or silence it so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable. You may have tried to blend in, to make yourself smaller, less intense, less powerful. You may have worn a mask just to feel accepted, but that version of you no longer fits, because now something has shifted. You're realizing that this energy inside you isn't something to be ashamed of. It's not something to suppress. It's not something you need to hide anymore. It's part of your truth. It's your natural fire. And now that you've stopped apologizing for it, your whole life is beginning to change. You're walking differently, speaking differently, listening differently. You're not trying to convince people of your worth. You don't need approval to feel strong anymore. You don't need to explain yourself just to be understood. You've started to trust your own presence. You've realized that your energy speaks louder than your words ever could. Now, when you walk into a room, people feel something. There's a quiet strength in you, a calm power. You don't have to perform or show off. You don't need to be loud or flashy. You just need to be present. And that presence is magnetic, especially to women. They don't even know why. They're drawn to you. It's not about your looks or what you say. It's about how you make them feel. And that feeling is coming from something deeper than appearance. It's coming from energy. Real energy. Alive energy. Awake energy. You used to wonder if anyone really saw you. If anyone could feel what was inside you. But now, people are seeing it, feeling it, responding to it. Not because you asked them to, but because you've stopped hiding. You're no longer shrinking into the background. You've stepped into the light without asking for permission. Your high sexual energy isn't something random. It's not chaotic. It's not dangerous. It's powerful. And when you learn how to hold it, not control it, but live in it, everything changes. That energy isn't just about sex or attraction. It's about the way your entire body, your emotions, and your spirit are finally moving in the same direction. That alignment is what people feel. It's what they trust. It's what they're drawn to. Women sense it in your stillness, in the way you don't rush to speak, in the way you pause before you act, in the way you listen without trying to fix or impress. They feel it in your presence, that calm, grounded energy that says, I'm here, fully, honestly, quietly. And in a world full of men who are either trying to dominate or disappearing into the background, your presence feels safe, real, different. You're not chasing anyone. You're not begging to be seen. You're not trying to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. And from that place of self-trust, you become someone people want to be near. Not because of something you're doing, but because of who you are when you're simply being. You've stopped confusing chaos with love. You no longer mistake intensity for connection. You don't fall for drama just to feel something real. You've outgrown that. Now, you know what your energy deserves. You know what kind of peace it needs to thrive. And because of that, you're attracting people who match that peace, who respect that energy, who aren't afraid of your strength. You're no longer trying to prove that you're enough. You just are. Your confidence doesn't come from how many people notice you. It comes from the way you show up when no one's looking. It comes from the way you walk through the world without pretending. The way you hold yourself without needing praise. The way you speak only when your words have meaning. That's what makes you magnetic now. It's not your appearance. It's not your charm. It's the calm in your energy. The stillness in your spirit. The way you've made peace with yourself. And that kind of peace changes everything. People feel safer around you now, not because you're trying to protect them, but because you're not demanding anything from them. You're not trying to be impressive. You're just being real. And that realness gives them permission to be real too. You've become the kind of man who doesn't just take up space, but holds it. Not for attention, but for truth. And in that truth, Others can breathe. Even when you say nothing, your presence speaks. It speaks through your silence. It speaks through your stillness. It speaks through the way you don't rush anymore. The way you move with intention. The way you've let go of the need to force anything. You're no longer desperate to make something happen. You trust that what's meant for you will find you. You don't grab at energy. You let it flow. You've also stopped giving your energy to people and situations that drain you. You've become more selective, more protective, not out of fear, but out of respect for yourself, your peace, and your time. You don't argue with people who don't understand you. You don't explain your worth. You don't chase what doesn't grow you. You've made peace with solitude. You're not afraid of being alone. You understand that your strength doesn't come from how many people are around you. It comes from how solid you are inside. When you're by yourself, you've stopped running from the silence. Now you live in it. And that silence has become your power. You know now that growth isn't always loud. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it looks like slowing down. Sometimes it looks like saying less. Sometimes it looks like letting go of what once made you feel seen. You've learned that not every connection is meant to stay. That not every person deserves access to your energy. That not every conversation needs your voice. This is what it means to bloom. Not for show, not for applause, but because you've outgrown the darkness you used to hide in. You've stopped waiting for permission to be yourself. You've stopped trying to fit into places that never respected your roots. You've grown up and out, quietly, strongly, honestly. And now the world is responding. Women feel it, not always with words, but with energy, with instinct. They feel your presence before you say anything. They feel your calm in a world that's constantly rushing. Your strength in a world full of noise. Your focus in a world that's easily distracted. They may not always understand it, but they remember it because your energy lingers. Your truth leaves a mark. You're not here to perform anymore. You're not here to win attention. You're here to live in alignment, to live with purpose, to live in your truth. And in doing that, you've become the kind of man who no longer needs to be the loudest, because you've become the most real. You've become the kind of presence that doesn't just light up a room, it shifts the whole atmosphere. You've gone inward, not because you're hiding or giving up, but because you're finally learning that real strength is built in silence. This time, the quiet is different. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. You've stopped reacting to the noise of the world. You've stopped needing to prove anything. Instead, you've begun to restore yourself. You've entered a stage of growth that's not loud or obvious, but deep and powerful. And it's in this space, away from distractions, that something new inside you begins to take shape. The version of you that's been forming under pressure is now unfolding, slowly, calmly, fully. And as this happens, your energy changes. People around you start to feel the change, even if they can't explain it. They begin to trust your presence, not because you demand anything from them, but because they feel safe in your calm. You don't fix others. You don't complete them. But somehow, when they're with you, they remember what it feels like to be whole. When you come back from this space of reflection, you will not return the same man. Your voice will carry more calm. Your eyes will carry more depth. Your energy will carry more truth. You will move differently, not faster, but with purpose. Not louder, but with weight. Because this time, you're not returning empty. You're returning with more of yourself. You've honored your process. You've listened to your inner timing. You didn't force your bloom. You let it unfold on your own terms. And that changed everything. You've entered a new cycle, not one that's driven by constant effort to attract, but one that's built on evolution. You're not trying to be seen anymore. You're resting to grow. You're not trying to bloom every day. You're blooming when it matters. And that changes your impact completely. Now that you've paused and looked inside yourself, something even more powerful is happening. You're seeing yourself clearly, not as the person who used to carry doubt, not as someone shaped by rejection, not as the man who tried to fit in just to feel safe. You're not holding on to old identities built to survive. That's over. Now, you're beginning to see yourself through truth. And that truth is different from anything you've known before. It's the kind of truth that doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need approval. It just is. You no longer look for reflections of yourself in other people's eyes. You're watching yourself now. And what you see is powerful. It's not the hunger to be chosen. It's the calm of someone who finally chooses himself. You're starting to understand why your presence changes a room, why silence follows when you enter, why some women stare a little longer. They aren't just looking at you. They're searching for something that only you now carry. But this time, it's not about watching their eyes. It's about watching your own. You see now what your energy has become. It's not scattered. It's not needy. It's not unstable. It's grounded. It's focused. It's alive. You're not just fire anymore. You're fire with direction. Heat with purpose. And that shift changes everything. You've stopped craving attention just to feel desired. You've stopped seeking shallow connection just to feel important. Now you want something different. You want connection that feels equal. Presence that feels full. You're not reaching anymore. You're standing. You're no longer confused about your value. You're no longer begging for respect. You're giving your energy only where it's matched. And you've stopped apologizing for being magnetic. You don't flinch when someone's drawn to you. You don't shrink when you're admired. You don't question why people are pulled in. You simply understand it now. You've done the work. You've earned this clarity. And from that understanding comes discernment. You've stopped trying to be everything for everyone. You're only focused on what aligns. You don't want to be seen by the world. You just want to be recognized by the right people. And they'll find you. Because when you see yourself clearly, others begin to do the same. You're not chasing belonging. You're not chasing connection. You're not offering pieces of your soul to be accepted anymore. You've seen your growth. You've felt your shift. And that's enough. You don't need proof. You are the proof. And because of that, you move through the world with more intention. You no longer wait for validation. You no longer seek confirmation. You live it. You embody it. You carry it. And from that quiet self-knowing comes peace. But now comes the next step, commitment. You've seen who you are. You've seen what you've become. And now, you must care for it. You must protect it. Growth is not something you reach and forget. It must be nourished. It must be sharpened. It must be directed. Your energy is powerful, but without purpose, it can scatter. Without discipline, it can burn out. You're no longer being pulled in every direction. You've become the one who steers. You've become the one who chooses. You've become the one who guides your own life. This chapter is not about growing endlessly, just for the sake of being more. It's about becoming precise. You've learned that not every opportunity is a good one. Not every compliment is genuine. Not every invitation is worth your time. The same energy that draws people in can also leave you drained if you give it too freely. So you begin to set clear boundaries. You clean your space. You protect your energy. You prioritize your time. You live with clarity. You no longer entertain chaos and call it excitement. You no longer romanticize dysfunction and call it love. You water what feeds you. You let go of what no longer grows. You are not cold. You are clear. Your sexual energy, once misunderstood or misused, is now a force of clarity. It's not a fire that burns wild. It's warmth that moves with wisdom. It's not loud. It's not reckless. It doesn't jump for attention. It stays steady. It stays real until someone earns it. You no longer desire to be wanted by everyone. You desire to be met fully, truly, by someone who has done the same work you have. You attract fewer people now, but they're the right ones. You attract those who see your strength and aren't threatened by it. Those who want to build with you, not lean on you. Those who understand that love is not meant to be rescued. It's meant to be shared. Now, you don't chase alignment. You live in it. Your actions match your values. Your words match your energy. And your energy speaks before you do. You don't need to prove anything. Your presence says it all. And the more intentional you become, the more powerful your presence feels, without you having to force it. Your growth is quiet, but it's strong. Your presence no longer shouts. It guides. You don't try to stand out. You simply stand firm. And that steadiness changes people. It brings them back to themselves. It helps them breathe again. That's real power. You're not just here to grow for yourself. You're here to build something that lasts. Something others can feel even after you're gone. Your work, your choices, your presence, it all leaves something behind. Not noise, but depth. Not hype, but legacy, not surface level approval, but real connection. You've started to see the results. The people who come into your life now are different. They're calmer. They're more grounded. They're more honest. Because your energy doesn't allow for anything less. The attention that once overwhelmed you now feels neutral. The desire that once confused you now feels clear. You're no longer chasing intensity. You're building peace. And that peace shows up in everything you touch. You don't seek to impress anymore. You seek to be real. You don't push to be loved. You invite honesty. Your energy doesn't scream. It whispers. And that whisper stays in the hearts of those who cross your path. You no longer confuse attraction for connection. You don't settle for shallow. You don't trade your truth for affection. You don't bend to be liked. You walk in your own rhythm. You carry your own standard. You live in your own bloom. You are no longer trying to prove you've grown. You've become the growth. You've become the garden. You've become the man who can hold both fire and calm without breaking. You don't need applause. You don't need to be remembered loudly, but you are, because your presence has depth. It lingers. It shifts people. It reminds them of who they are. And now, you finally understand the purpose behind the entire journey. It was never about being more attractive. It was never about being wanted. It was about becoming someone who, just by being himself, wakes something up in others. You're not waiting to be seen. You are choosing what you see. You've stepped out of the role of seeker. You've become the standard. You're not ruled by desire. You direct it. You don't depend on being desired to feel powerful. You've fallen in love with who you are. You don't need attention to feel valuable. Your value is built into how you live. Your legacy isn't in what you take. It's in what you leave behind. The moments, the conversations, the clarity you bring, the peace others feel around you. That's your impact. That's your truth. And it stays, even when you leave the room. Because you're not chasing results anymore. You're living your purpose. You've stopped trying to make life happen. You've become the rhythm itself. Your high sexual energy is no longer about attraction. It's about transformation. It invites others to be real. It pulls people out of performance and into presence, especially women who don't just feel wanted around you, but understood, safe, seen. And the most powerful thing of all is this: you're now living with joy, without regret. You've stopped giving your energy to things that deplete you. You've stopped apologizing for who you are. You've stopped trying to control the timing of everything. You're no longer afraid of solitude. You're no longer afraid of being seen. You're no longer afraid of being loved. Because now, you are the man you were always meant to be. You're no longer chasing your future. You're living it. You've become it. And everywhere you go, something honest, something peaceful, something real follows. Not because you try to impress anyone, but because you dare to be yourself completely.